morning, good 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 morning. Good morning to each of you. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, Veranda. Hey, LaWanda. Hey, Natasha. Good morning, Antoinette. Kim, Irie, Shannon. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Pat. Good morning. Ah, good morning, y'all. Good morning, Tawana. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, 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 friends. Welcome, welcome. Good morning. Come on into the room. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Come on into the room. Come on into the room. Come on into the room. Welcome to the Pink Robe Chronicles. I am the Reverend Dr. Melva L. Sampson, your creator, curator. Did I say creator? Amen and ashe. Of this sacred spiritual gathering, the Pink Robe Chronicles. I welcome you into this space. Good morning to each of you. Good morning, please click like and share. For those of you, good morning. For those of you who have entered our space and have been interested into how you can become a part of our clearing, our talk back to the text, our community, our virtual intentional community, our subscription space, I have placed and placing the link here for you to subscribe, both here on Facebook and on YouTube. And you click that link and you subscribe, and at the end, our clearing, and at the end of the broadcast, I will give you access to come in and to have some conversation with us into that sacred space. I want to call on the community, particularly right now as we are preparing to engage today. I want to invite our community, the Pink Robe Chronicles and the Clearing, to lift up a family in prayer and in need. I shared it's even difficult to really speak of. I shared a link on my page, on my Facebook page, for a meal train for Sister China Selena Scott. China Selena Scott is a bright soul. She is a bright sister. Ashe. When I mean bright, I mean light. Life, life and light emanates from her. If you've ever been in her presence for a short amount of time, you feel like you are kinfolk. Her presence is that bright, and the beauty. One of the things that I appreciated most about Sister China, especially when I lived in Atlanta, when our children went to ballet together. She was just a present face in the community. I remember first seeing her at the Malcolm X festival in the West End, and her children, the beauty and the same light emanating from her children as they were all over that park. There was a beauty and a freedom with which Mama China allowed her children to roam, to be free in their blackness, to be free in who they are in a way that even the West End, Southwest Atlanta, just enveloped them, her babies, the village's babies, the collective. On last Tuesday in Atlanta, there was a tragic car accident, which Mama China and her eldest daughter survived, but her other three children, two daughters and a son, along with her former spouse, did not. It is bone chilling today at 2 p.m. at the Atlanta Masjid. She and the community will do, as they are Muslim, will prepare the rites, the final rites for her children, and I'm going to name them. She prepares to bury her beloved children, 13-year-old son Dari, also named known as Sunny, 10-year-old Kisasi, whom they called the Sauce, and 1-month-old Fujibo, whom they called Fuji, and their father Taraja. I want our community to pray specifically for strength for China as she has to stand today. I want us to lift her name and to lift her children's name, Sundari, Kisasi, and Fuji, and lift her daughter who is living, her daughter Callie. Callie and China survived. Lift them to the highest space, to the highest point of light. She needs the prayers, just as those mothers all over the world, from Congo to Sudan to Palestine to Israel to, again, right here in the U.S., grieving family members need the support and the prayers of those who are here and remain. It is our responsibility. I'm just sort of rubbing my heart here because it is unimaginable. It is unthinkable. It is indeed so very tragic. And our communities, we can do a lot, especially those of us who are in theological education. We can, get wrapped up into debating this and to debating that. We can, and myself included, and when things like this hit, it reminds me, at least, as it unlocks so many questions, but it certainly makes me think through what are the resources that we have, what are the tangible resources that we have to move one another through these incessant stages of grief. So shout out to Dr. Jamie Edie Chisholm, shout out to Confidence Omanai and others who traffic in that space of doulaing and walking people through the grief process. And for those of you who are a part of our community, oh, it's just in my throat. For those of you who are a part of our community who have experienced great loss in that way, yeah, I'm not going to force the words. I don't have words. I don't have the words. I just acknowledge you and ask you at 2 o'clock today. And if you are in the Atlanta area and you want to go support dear Sister China, you can Google the Atlanta Masjid and get the address in over there in Southeast Atlanta at 2 p.m. You can also go further down on my page and find the Mill Train link for you to donate to her. Shout out also to, we have community members who have been supporting the family, unknowing, well, the degrees of separation is so small. So to those community members whose vocation it has been for the week to support Mama China and her family, I want us to also lift up those village keepers who are part of our community, who have been doing the very hard spiritual work of being present. Ashe, 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 Ashe. And so we will speak their names and let Mama China know that indeed we love her. Also, along the same lines, as we speak the name of Bishop Carlton Pearson, we know that there are those, namely our very own Reverend Carmen White Yanak, whom I affectionately call Carm or Carmi, who are children, seeds of Bishop Carlton Pearson, who have journeyed with him for a long, long time. And so I want to publicly also say from this community that we too are lifting our prayers. And I want to be specific as I am preparing to move into this part of the message, this our reflection this morning. I want to be specific in to say that, friends, we ought to be very careful. We ought to be very, very careful, careful as to how quickly we run to report death. And for some of us, it is not because we want to be the first to report, although I posted that, and I do believe for others of us it is. But it is our fascination, and for some, it is a trauma response. It is such utter disbelief. But we have to be careful not to participate in the same kinds of antics that, as we would say in our church language, that the world participates in. Ashe. We must be careful because there are loved ones, there are their loved ones who are in deep pain, and we also can also share with you that speak spirit, share with me how to say what is on my heart to say. Well, Dr. Jamie probably could say it. I probably should have brought you on. This kind of death watch, this crossover, is a sacred rite and ritual. It is not to be treated lightly. It is not to be treated as fodder. It is not to be moved into so that you could be the first one. And it certainly is inappropriate to attempt to acknowledge one's accomplishment and yet at the same time want to disagree with someone about their stance on a doctrine or a tradition or a theology as they are standing or as they are readying and or preparing themselves. It's inappropriate. It is ego driven, Ashe. It is ego driven. And so we stand with the supporters and the family of Bishop Carlton Pearson for wherever he is in his stage of life. We stand with support. Ashe. We stand with support. We stand, walk in the light. Yes. Beautiful light. Come where the dewdrops of mercy are bright, and then shine all around us by day and by night. Yeah. Man, that's just over me. we stand. There's a bright light waiting for me. There's a bright light waiting for me. There's a bright light waiting for me in the New Jerusalem. Oh, Sister Amelika, thank you. Thank you. Oh, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Thank you. Prayers to your daughter, Zaneta, who has been with Mama China, helping to walk this very intense and painful part of her life's journey. The ache is indeed unfathomable. Ashe. Sister Omelika, who is also an elder in our community, we send Zaneta prayers of strength. Carm, we send you prayers of courage, both as you both are standing and journeying and walking with. Ashe, 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 ashe. Family, it is indeed heavy. It is indeed heavy. It is indeed heavy. It is indeed heavy. Individually and collectively, we are walking with weight. Ashe. We are walking with weight. At the moment when the fruit of our womb become or are thrust into the journey of becoming ancestors. Yes, Byron, help me, brother. Become on the journey of becoming ancestors. It is unbelievably heavy, and there is no amount of shout. Hey, there is no amount of shout, a shout with glee, that will move us beyond. However, my dear sibling, Dr. J. Exodus Hooper, however, in the shout, there is catharsis, there is movement. And so I am inviting you, summoning the presence of my niece, Ashley Nobukosi, as she would tell us to just begin to move, and however which way to just begin to move in our bodies as we sit with, as we stand, as we usher, as we pray for those some who have who are preparing and have been preparing for this transition, and others for whom it was abrupt, and for whom I know that even in their transition, that the abrupt nature of that has them even on the other side in great grief. And that is what I want to park on this morning in our meditation. Oh my, in our meditation. I want us to go to Matthew chapter 17. Yee. Mm, mm, mm. Ooh, these words just are ringing so heavy, Jay. Walk in the light, just as we ushering. Beautiful light, come where the dewdrops of mercy shine bright. Shine all around us by day and by night. Oh, the light of the world. Ooh, Walk in the light. You know, light, no religious tradition has a hold on light. My. No one religious tradition has authority over light. Come where the dewdrops of the mercy, and then shine all around us by day and by night. We are the light of the world. I'm moving to Matthew 17. Walk in the light. We have to usher folks in, though. Beautiful light. Come on and let's usher. Come where the dewdrops, even those who are troubled moving to the realm because it was so abrupt. From here to Palestine, walk in the lights. They need our assistance. Beautiful light. Come where the dewdrops of mercy are bright, and then shine on around us, hey, by day, hey, and by night. Oh, we are the light of the world. Come on, come on, come on. Let's just usher them. Walk in the light. Beautiful light. Come where the dewdrops of mercy shine bright, and then shine all around us, oh, by day and by night. Oh, you are the light of the world. Walk in the light. Yeah. Beauty. This is the spirit work right here. For light. Yeah. Come where the dewdrops, of mercy are bright. Come on. And then shine on around us. Shine on around us. Yeah. Shine on around them. Shine on around them by day and by night. Oh, we are. They are. You are the light of the world. Yeah. And after 6 days, Jesus took with them Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And there he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. And just then appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. And Peter said to Jesus, you know what? I want y'all to keep, even where you are, keep singing that Walk in the Light as I'm reading. Just keep singing that. And Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. And while he was still speaking, walk in the light, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, this is my son. Come on, come on. Whom I love, and with him I am well pleased. Listen to him. And when the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified. But Jesus came and touched them. Get up, he said. Don't be afraid. And when they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. And as they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead. And the disciples asked him, why then do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first? And Jesus replied, to be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but have done to him everything they wished. And in the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands. Then the disciples understood that he was talking to them about John the Baptist. I want to go back up to the top here. Yes, Byron. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Keep singing, sibling. And after 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led him up on a high mountain by themselves. And there he was, transfigured before them. And there he was, transfigured before them. And there he was, transfigured before them. And just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. I want to tag this transfiguration in the title, but I want to shift it to talking with the ancestors. Talking with the ancestors. Talking with the ancestors. Ashe. I, along with others, have been, let me speak for myself. Let me come in this way. Some of you who reach out to me to, you want to find information, you want to begin the process of being reconciled with parts of you that have been numbed and or silenced, reconciled in a way that our Christian tradition, and particularly our respectability, in the ways that our Christian tradition practiced once within brick and mortar institutions that academics have named the Black church, that represent African American denominational communities, the way in which this Black Christian tradition, hear me, not the Black prophetic tradition, but this Black way of practice and or worship, that for some it's radicality and resistance. It had gone mute, right? So the invisible institution that was in the hush harbor, that was in the bush, that was a blend of both folk religion, of both hoodoo and indigenous traditions that had been revived in the Caribbean and brought over from the continent to the Caribbean, revived and renewed here in the new Americas. These African derived religious traditions, these rituals, these ways of knowing and being, to also include Islam, Ashe, that once we move into brick and mortar institutions that are called forth by respectability, then the mask that many enslaved Africans engaged by using Christianity, namely Catholicism, to mask by using the saints named in Catholicism to mask the deities of indigenous traditions and or practices, which then would come, of course, into Protestantism, which would be able to be seen in various spiritual technologies. The respectability that was placed on those practices paused the resistance, and resistance moves from, or we move from resistance to full out assimilation. Full out assimilation into an evangelical Christianity, a hardline Christianity that separates the sacred and the secular, that presents before us a hard line of brimstone, of hell, of modesty, of living a particular way, of police bodies, of police beliefs, and as a result, we struggle, right? We struggle to have a sense of self. We war within our own bodies. We war within our own bodies, and not this sort of warring of a profound and a profane, but a simple everyday warring of that which comes natural, of the movement, because the beat of the drum is inherent, ashe, is inherent within our DNA, because those who missionize, those who colonize, those who enforced this kind of practice upon us were in fear, follow me, were in fear of what the beat of the drum enacted or brought forth in us. They deemed it as problematic. They deemed it as not of God, and thus hence, we then have spent a lifetime trying to silence, come on, Sister Omelika, trying to silence the beat of the djembe within us. However, the beat of the djembe is the very voice of God. My goodness, those hands, like the hands of Sister Omelika, those gifted, anointed hands are the tools for communicating. They are the portal. Those hands become the portal, and the beat draws us in, and the movement. But there are those of us, though, that are disconnected from our physical bodies. We are disconnected because now we participate in a war against spirit and flesh. Holy Ghost, just take me wherever you're taking me, because this certainly wasn't where I was going. We then are in a war between our spirit and flesh. There are many of us who are spending time attempting, ask me how I know, because I used to be one of them, Irie. We are asking to bring our flesh under subjection. Oh my God, if I can just crucify this flesh, if I could just kill this flesh. Hence, there are those of you who have contacted me, who reach out to me and who say, Dr. Malva, how is it? Point me in the right direction. What book can I read? Where is it? How can I find this kind of semblance that you seem to have? How is it that you remain a practicing Christian? How is it that you remain a practicing follower of the way, and yet you acknowledge your ancestors, and yet you engage in ancestral veneration, and yet you have an affinity towards African indigenous traditions, and yet you acknowledge the Ifa Orisha tradition, and yet you acknowledge Vodun, and yet you acknowledge the Gallaudet rituals, and yet how is it that you can remain a follower? There are some, Dr. Melva, who have placed you on the margins. There are some who have told us, stay away from Dr. Melva, stay away from Pink Robe Chronicles, stay away from the clearing before you get mixed up and confused. But there are some of you who refuse to follow their instruction, not because of your affinity toward me, but because of what your spirit is calling you toward. But friends, I often tell you that I did not come into this. I did not come into this by way of a book. I came into this. I came into this space by way of following the leading of the spirits. I came into this by way of being open. I came into this by way of trusting my own discernment. I came into this, yes, partly through theological education, I say formal theological training, but I also came into this by being a part of several communities that are strong enough to hold the truth, the questioning in my truth, and to provide for me an open enough space where I can make sense of it on my own with them close around in case I need it. So shout out to First African Church in Lithonia, Georgia. Shout out to Sankofa United Church of Christ. Shout out to Rise Community Church. Shout out to Sisters Chapel and the Wisdom Center. Shout out to the Gallaudet. Shout out to the community of Orisha, Ifa, and Vodun. Shout out to all of the communities, to the House of Umoja, to the House of Teray, to Giwa and Mata. Shout out to Midway Missionary Baptist Church. Shout out to all of those spiritual communities that have formed me, that have shaped me, and that have been bold enough, even when they couldn't understand. Even shout out to the nation of Ndugu and Nzinga, even when they couldn't understand for themselves what exactly was happening. So we've been journeying. We're going to be late getting into the clearing, y'all. We're going to be late getting into the clearing, y'all. Hey, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. So I have been journeying with my elder, Mama Itihari Teray. Now, she would never say the House of Teray because she's too humble for that. But I am saying it because that's what it is. And to my sister, Elder Maisha, Maisha Karyamu, Handy, to my elder brother, guide, Baba, Dr. Daniel Omatosho Black, to Olgunwale Lomax, to so many, I should not have started naming, to Iya Iniola Calamara and Baba Kwame Calamara, to my sister Afahari and so many, to Baba AK, to Mama Amanata, to so many that I have to just say the names. I have to say the names to sisters in the comrade in the struggle. Iya Funlaya, Iya Monica, Baba Stephen, so many, so many, so many, so many, so many, so many. Hey, to this sacred sojourn, talking with the ancestors. I just got to go as they're leading. And so many of you have asked, where do I start in this talking with the ancestors? And so I simply want to just guide you, particularly those of you who follow this book, that it's in your book. It's in your text. It is in your text that the leading that you have been feeling to simply follow it. This talking with the ancestors makes many Christians uneasy. And I simply want to say that your uneasiness is a result of colonization. Your uneasiness, your feelings of being uncomfortable with engaging with your ancestors is a result of colonization and imperialism. Hey, can we step? God, we got to get to this clearing. It is as a result of those who colonized your indigenous land, your indigenous practices. Come on, Teresa Washington. And because they could not understand your practices or the practices of your ancestors, and because they did not have the language to be able to identify what was going on, they deemed it as evil. Yet, even in their own ancestral legacy, ancestral veneration was prevalent. Their main job was to interrupt your connection with their ancestors, with your ancestors, to intercept your connection with your ancestors. So in turn, you then become confident in foreign ancestors that are not even a part of your legacy and or your lineage, and ancestors whom you call upon who may not even be benevolent ancestors, meaning they may not even be well. Yet you find yourselves day in and day out calling on these energies. For those that colonized you. Yes, Dr. Hooper, meaning that you have to unlearn and uproot. We enter this text with Jesus having a conversation with whom? With whom? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. With whom is Jesus having a conversation with? Oh, his ancestors. Even beloved Jesus practiced ancestral veneration. Here Jesus is about to move into full service. But just before he can get to the whole point of his being, just before he can get to engage, he has to have a talk with the ancestors. And friends, I just want to simply pause right there. That some of us are at a standstill, at a crossroads, if you will, because we are not listening or we are afraid to engage in talking with our ancestors. The religious dogma that certainly is steeped in an ancestral way. I mean, listen, all of Judaism and all of Christianity stands on an ancestral foundation, friends. Hello, somebody. Hello to the people in the back. And this crossroads, this space that we are stuck in, because three things are happening. One, two at least. One, we are not talking to our ancestors because we do not realize that the dead never die. Two, if we are talking to our ancestors, it is possible that we're not talking to the right ones, that we are not talking to those who are benevolent, to those who are well enough to journey with us. And or three, that somehow we think that this is some kind of bad worship practice. But here we find that the result of talking to the ancestors is spiritual change. Let me go back. I'm going to read something for you. When you think of the ancestors, who or what comes to mind? Ancestors are biological and historical reality for each of us. Irrespective of our religious, racial, or cultural backgrounds, your blood lineage ancestors include the thousands of women and men whose lives weave a story back to the first human beings in Africa over 200,000 years ago. Even if you were adopted or orphaned and will never know your biological parents, the ancestors still speak and will still speak through the DNA in each cell of your body. They are reflected in your physical features, in your health, and many of your predispositions. My God, let me go. Let me read this again. Let me read this again, y'all. We got to get to this clearing. I put the link up for those of you who want to come on and join our subscription community to come over. I'm not going to be able to finish this all, but let me try to push forward. When you think of the ancestors, who or what comes to mind? Ancestors are a biological and historical reality for each of us, irrespective of our religious, racial, or cultural backgrounds. Your blood lineage ancestors include the thousands of women and men whose lives weave a story back to the first human beings in Africa over 200,000 years ago. Even if you were adopted or orphaned and will never know your biological parents, the ancestors still speak through the DNA in each cell of your body. They are reflected in your physical features. They are reflected in your health, and they are reflected in many of your predispositions. Beyond your bloodlines, you might also claim as an ancestor anyone whose life has inspired you either personally or culturally. Ancestors, let me just keep reading a little bit more. Benefits of ancestor work. On a personal level, research confirms that relating in conscious ways with your ancestors supports physical and psychological health in the following ways. 1, reflecting on your ancestors boosts intellectual performance and confidence. 2, awareness of family predispositions, including behavioral health risk, may encourage life choices that benefit you and future generations. 3, forgiveness, a common component of family healing and ancestral repair work, promotes greater physical and mental health. Because we are partly composed of family karma or consciousness, assisting blood ancestors who are still in need also improves our personal wellness and soul level health. Can I tell you what this really means? Can I tell you what all of this means? It means that, and there he was, transfigured before them. It means that talking with our ancestors, that the result of talking with our ancestors is transfiguration. That yes, intellectual performance is a kind of transfiguration. Awareness of family predispositions, including behavioral health risks, encouraging life choices that benefit us and future generations, is a kind of transfiguration. Forgiveness is a kind of transfiguration. Now, many of us only ever really know transfiguration as sort of this radiant light, this beam that Jesus receives as a result of speaking with Moses and Elijah. But can I offer just a twist here? Maybe not a twist, but let's nuance it a little bit. Another way to talk about transformation here, another way to engage transformation is what? Spiritual change. That transfiguration here in this text is spiritual change. That engaging on an ancestral level supports spiritual change. That many of the crossroads that we are stuck at possibly is because we are not clear about the capacities that we need to become unstuck. Jesus was about to engage, was about to go through a most harrowing experience, a particular kind of crossroads. And Jesus needed to be able to talk with his ancestors to engage both Moses and Elijah. He needed to be able to engage them to call forth the capacities that both as leaders would have engaged, that they may impart wisdom to him. And as a result of that intimacy, the text says that he then is transfigured. Then those who were with Jesus, they wanted to build something, a shelter for all three of the ancestors, for the two ancestors in Jesus to be able to sit under. But then, as a result of this conversation, the talk with the ancestors opened the portal for this experience with the Great One. Or in the words of Jada Pinkett Smith, the Great Supreme, Ashe. It says that while Jesus, Moses, and Elijah were still speaking, that the bright cloud covers them, and that a voice says, "This is my son in whom I'm well pleased." What are they saying? It seems to me that the ancestors work in concert with the Great Supreme, that they then are a portal, that they then have the divine connection, the hookup, if you will, for us to be able to engage not only on a spiritual level, not only on a psychological level, and not just on a physical level, but on a molecular level. My goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Recent findings, on a cultural and collective level, the ancestors are powerful allies in transforming historical trauma relating to race, gender, religion, war, and other types of collective pain. Recent findings in epigenetics are showing that in a very real way, the pain of our ancestors can endure through generations. And come on, Byron, come on. Yes. And when we reconcile with ancestors who experience different types of Byron, you are on it. You're on the wavelength. You're on the wavelength. I sense your spirit. You're doing the work. Yeah. Yes. Woo! Even in all of this, Byron's still over there singing. That's it. Shine all around us. That's it, friends. This is the work. This is the work. When we reconcile with ancestors who experienced different types of persecution or who enacted violence and oppression, we make repairs in our personal psyches and family histories that in turn mend cracks in the larger spirit of humanity. When those who were following Jesus hear this voice, they fall down because they were terrified. But Jesus wasn't scared. Jesus tells them to get up, touches them. Get up, don't be afraid. But only when they looked up, they didn't see Elijah and Moses anymore. They only saw Jesus. We are the living embodiment of our ancestors, y'all. We are the living embodiment of our ancestors, y'all. I want to say it again. We are the living embodiment of our ancestors. I want to end here because I can't finish this all. I'm going to head to the clearing to finish it. Many of you are asking, what is the book that I'm reading from? I'm hesitant at this point to share what the book is, and I'm not going to do it right now, because I don't know the level, I don't know where you all are spiritually, and this book, I shared it in another circle with people that I'm actually journeying with, that we are doing this work together. And so I will at a later date, just not right now, Spirit, just not right now. I'm not getting ready to do it right now. I'm not led to do it right now because it's not something, even though I'm speaking this work is not something that you should just sit at home and be like, all right, I'm going to do this today. I'm starting this today. We gonna do this. It requires guidance. You need to be guided. You need to be doing it with a guide, with someone, because it is an entering into a world, Ashe, a spirit world, that requires folk on the other side who can bring you back, Ashe. This is not a game, and even, I don't think that any of you think that it is a game, but even this is not that for some others who think this is a fad, who think that it is like fat people who wear locks because it's fashionable, who want, they want locks because it's a fashionable thing. It not because it is their politic, not because it is their way to resist dominant beauty norms. And just like that, engaging ancestral veneration and participating in Sankofa to return to parts of ourselves that have been muted is not fashionable. It is not a fad, Ashe. It is not something that we gonna do today because everybody else doing it. You got to be careful, Ashe. You got to be very careful. So I'm not going to share it now. I'm going to continue to read from it in the clearing, but I'm not going to share it at this date. And notice I'm only reading certain parts. I'm only reading certain parts also because I've only just started reading it, Ashe. So I'm not getting ready to share something fully with us, with this community, that I've not fully come to the end of. Y'all, let's get on over to the clearing. For those of you who are walk with us and journey in that community, we welcome you to go ahead and log off and get with us now. For those of you who desire and you want to be a part of our subscription community, it's $30 a month to journey, to walk alongside. This is as an act of reciprocity toward our community and towards me. Ashe, we engage week to week. And for those, even if you're not able to be in the clearing live every week, you receive the recording, the audio and the video recording of the link, along with membership into our private Facebook group where we have a lot of these conversations. We welcome you into the space, Ashe. And because I failed to mention, that's okay. I'm going to do another live. I'm not going to even interrupt this moment with that. Ashe, Ashe. Thank you. And I am ending and I'm headed over to the clearing. Peace, y'all.